Hi, and welcome to Times Square Today. I'm your host, Zach Viscomi, and today I've got a really special guest I'm excited to introduce you to, Ivana Crunchy. How are you doing today?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So you were a winner of the business plan competition at High Point University, which is interesting in and of itself. But you had to do a lot of things in order to win that, right? And part of that was this Flasky that you created. But before we get into all of this wonderful stuff that you have to share, can you tell me a little bit more about what it's like for you, obviously as an entrepreneur, but also in school and having been in school when you were doing this simultaneously and what that's been like for you?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been really an amazing experience because I've had the opportunity to learn how to juggle multiple things going on. Obviously, my education at the time was super important, but also my interests. And so having that support network that HPU allowed me to have, access to resources, just experiential opportunities for me to try that out, it was so fun. I was able to always get everything all done and have so much support from everyone involved.
I mean, High Point University is a great university, and I had the pleasure of walking the campus a few times, and it's just amazing what they do for students like yourself, and even the access that they give you to some things. And so you studied pharmacy there, you're a chemist, but you also provided a very intriguing solution, it seems like, for laboratories in different places. So can you tell me a little bit more about this? I'm just really excited to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a researcher for quite a few years. And what was really stunning to me was every time we make medications, we were making it in the standardized flask that all labs use across the country. But what was happening was we are losing about a salary's worth of the medication that we put in there and try to take out later simply because we can't get it out of the flask. The flask has a very specific shape. It looks like a light bulb that turned upside down. And with it being like that, just when you're only using a straight tool to go into that round bottom flask, it was incredibly hard to get all of our medications out of it.
Talking to somebody who doesn't really know what that's like, I mean, I picture this this glass ball with a very narrow neck, like most beakers you see in TV shows where they're mixing things together. But you're talking about cleaning out those medications that are in there, and so they can repurpose that then once they clear it out, or what's?
Yeah, so it's actually for medication extraction. So we mix a bunch of chemicals together and poof, the medication's in the flask. And so once the medication's in the flask, we need to get it out. And just the fact that the flask does a certain purpose, it has to be shaped the way it is. And then, but when we're trying to take it out, it's not shaped the best way for us to take it out. So making a tool like Flasky made it so much easier to get a 95% clean out of that flask.
So we were talking earlier behind the scenes a little bit, and you were talking about how you were an entrepreneur from the get-go. I mean, as young as 13, and so why don't you tell me a little bit more about what got you started in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was the day before I turned 13 years old, and I told my parents, oh my goodness, Mom and Dad, I want to open up an online store, and I just need to be 13, and that day is tomorrow. And the day came, I turned 13, I was super excited. I jump onto the online platforms that I want to open my business on, and I go to the next page, and all of a sudden I see, please enter your credit card information. I was so sad. I thought my dreams were dashed, but I thought after a little while, I was like, okay, well, I could just borrow one of my dad's credit cards. So I creeped over to our dining room table, saw that he had his credit cards on the table, and I was like, I'll just borrow it for a couple seconds, I'll be okay. Took one of the cards, and I was starting to type in all the numbers, and then I started to hear him coming down the hallway, and I was like, oh no. So I ducked under the dining room table and kept typing my numbers, and that's how I started.
That's amazing. And then I'm guessing he found out either right then or a little bit later.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I had opened my shop and I was so excited.
Yeah. So that industriousness has really carried on to today.
Yeah, so right now I'm part of Flasky Labware, and I've been a researcher for so many years. And what I realized was every time we make medications, anything from Advil to Benadryl, Zyrtec, you name it, we make them in a specialized flask called a round bottom flask. This flask looks like a light bulb, and it has a small opening and a big bulb. And what happens is that companies and researchers that are making these medications try to overcompensate because they know they're going to lose a lot of medications simply because it's hard to get something out of a really small opening out of that really big flask. So what I did was I made a tool called Flasky, and it snakes into the neck of the flask and allows for a one-swipe, easy clean. And now we're getting 95% of the medications out, which reduces lab waste in our lab.
You're talking about some of that waste. I mean, obviously, with the conventional tools that are being used right now, you can't get all of the product out of that flask. And so with your tool now, with 95%, I mean, what's the type of savings that you're showing at these labs with the results that you've been getting?
Yeah, at first I was like, okay, like we're just gonna save materials, save lots of reagents and things like that. But then I realized, oh my goodness, we were saving a salary's worth in just being able to take more medication out of a flask to be able to use that and not have to spend more money on the materials that we would need to overcompensate for the drugs. So it was incredible.
I mean, that's amazing, right? You're freeing up a huge amount of money just by being able to clean something more efficiently. That's incredible. And I would love the opportunity to try that as well. So hopefully we'll get a chance to do that. And so, you know, obviously now that you've got Flasky, you've done this, I imagine that you're not stopping anytime soon. So what do you got next? I mean, what's coming up next for you?
Yeah, so right now, Flasky is undergoing its nationwide call for our pilot program. We would love to have individuals, private labs, public labs, university labs, and small or big biotech companies try our product. So what's really cool is they'll get free Flaskies to test in their labs, and obviously no matter what size, if you are saving and reducing the amount of waste you generate, we're hoping to make a positive impact on the amount of money you're able to save for your lab.
Yeah. And I imagine that that same impact has to have something to do with how, you know, if you're not having all of this waste, it affects the environment. It affects, you know, not just their bottom line, but it really does make a difference in so many different ways with something that was just ingenious, right? Just a better way to clean a flask. Tell me a little bit more about what your mission is and what your goals are for the future.
Yeah, so what I was seeing a lot after creating Flasky was that there's a really big siloing in our field. We want the researchers to do what they do best, which is research, and we want the creators to create the tools, that's what they do best. But when I was able to realize that, hey, I'm the researcher and I see a problem, and somewhere along the way it'll be lost if I try to share it with a biotech company and not like try to build it myself, I was like, oh, if our company comes in, we could actually unite chemists to build tools for chemists. And so the idea behind Flasky Labware is making tools for chemists that they desire in their lab. And we want to be able to just bring those minds together, transform research, and advance the way we do chemistry.
That's incredible. So I'd be really interested in hearing from you, like with everything that you have going on between school and you know, your entrepreneurial endeavors, what keeps you so grounded?
Yeah, definitely two things. Friends and family. I've always been able to lean on them for support, criticism. They're just always there to like really give their feedback and also cheer me on along the way. I've loved that all of them have been able to step in and say, hey, we can help you, and that's just been, I'm so thankful for that. And the second thing is my amazing university that I went to. High Point University has just been such a blessing in my life because they've been able to help me transform, grow, develop, and access so many different resources, think so much differently of myself and like to grow, and I've just been so thankful for that.
Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that. And if somebody, like even a lab or somebody, wanted to get in contact with you to even test this out or be a part of what you guys are doing moving forward now in the next step, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can reach out to us on flaskylabware.com or send an email. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And before we go, can I have a turn on using the Flasky so we can show everybody how easy it really is?
Yes.
It looks really easy. So walk me through this here. Here's the light bulb.
Yep.
But these are special things. This is the medicine technically inside here. And so what do I got to do?
All you got to do is push down a little bit and just give it a one great scrape across the wall.
Okay. I'm not doing very good. Wait.
You've got this. Just one nice swipe. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, and you're getting it 95. You're just like a cow.
Oh, there it is.
Wow.
I was trying too hard. It's actually so easy. It's not. Oh, yeah. Look at this. Look.
Yeah. And so this is cleaning our flask up to 95% better.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, you could see 95%. Just after that, like, I mean, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Times Square Today.